One more time, just the voices. Father, right now in this moment we invite you. Holy Spirit, we invite you to come and make your name. When you walk into the room, everything changes. Darkness starts to tremble at the light that you bring. When you walk into the room, every heart starts burning. Nothing matters more than just to sit here at your feet and worship. Sing the love. We'll never stop. Can't live without you, Jesus. We love you. Can't get enough. And all this is for you. Our hearts are yours, we want you.
stuck tonight. You're stuck in the same old sin you've been in. And God's saying how to get out of this stuff you're in, out of this sin you're in, is worship. This is how you get out. It's through worship. You worship deeper. You do more stuff that you haven't ever done before. And God's saying, just worship me.
Hearts are yours, we worship you. We worship you. Make it to God, all we are. Hearts are yours, we worship you. It's not all we are. Give you permission, our hearts are yours.
first time they're in this youth group, they seem so depressed and they seem so alone in their life. And today, I see them jumping with joy, with the Holy Spirit, and God completely wrecks their life. Like, it can definitely happen to you. Don't doubt that at all.
Come on, you believe the presence of God changes everything. You believe that when God shows up, everything will change. You can have joy in your life. You can have peace in your life. Depression goes under the power of God. Amen? Man, I'm excited. You guys we met, prayed before service, and just felt like all of us, it was like 3 of us that felt the same thing. There was this like peace, like something, a burden had been lifted. I thought it was maybe because school's out. We just felt something in the atmosphere, like things were a little different. Does anyone else feel that way lately? Like something's been lifted, something's been changed. It's just different. I don't know if I can put my finger on it, but I'm thankful that God is up to something. And so, man, thank you guys for going for it in worship. It's just going to get better and better. Thank you. Give it up for our worship team. They're awesome. Thank you guys. Aaron is back from the Philippines. Man, I'm excited. Tonight's going to be good. All summer we're going to kind of mix it up, do real different stuff, have a lot of guest speakers, that kind of thing. So it's going to be a good summer to be here. And let's be honest, what else do you have going on in your career? Anyway, I'm excited tonight. Our very own, you know him, you love him, he needs no introduction. Our very own Ryan Gilliam will be bringing it tonight. Give it up for Ryan.
What's up, guys? Give me 1 second. I gotta say, okay, I hate it. I hate it so much when like pastors or preachers will like acknowledge that they have a cough or they're running nose like that, but I have to do it this time. So, quick story. We're at the lake. We'll hear backstory of this. When I was a little kid, I had to get like tubes in my ear when I was a baby, and so they had to like put little plastic tubes in my ear. Ever since then, it's like screwed me up. And so anytime I try to like swim or do anything, like if I go really deep, it like busts my ear. Or you have like your best friend who like smacks you with a bunch of sand. And so that's like this year's like messed up. And so we went to the lake this past weekend, and I was on like this rope swing, and I swung out, and I like just face planted, but with this side. And so it busted again. So if you see me like wipe stuff away, it's super disgusting and it's super gross. But like there's like earwax like coming out of my ear now right now. It's so gross. It's so nasty. And so when I do that, just like anytime I do it, don't be distracted. Just think about how nasty it is, okay? And just let that sit. Just imagine. I mean, our bodies are amazing, but it's so gross. Like it's so nasty. Like it smells so bad. Like my pillow, you don't even want. Okay. Let's get on that. That's a distraction. Half y'all are sick. Like I'm never coming back to this group again. So gross. But today I wanted to talk about favor. It's one of my favorite, it's a huge thing. Look at that, that's so dope, isn't it? Just acknowledge it. Everybody give it up. Come on. Do it right now! There we go. So cool. So favor for me has been a huge part of like my walk with God, my talk with God, like my relationship with Jesus. Favor has been a huge thing. And so we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about favor. So first off, let's just say like the definition of favor. Let's see what some of y'all like think favor is. Like, what is favor to you? Somebody raise your hand and tell me, like, what does favor, the word favor, mean to you? Anybody? Favor. Definition. What do you think it means? What? Whenever you like something, okay. Like favorite, like favor, okay. Jaden.
Like respecting somebody, like favoring them.
Okay, favoring them, like you have like a favoring someone, okay. Yeah, I can't see who it is, but yeah, back row. What'd you say? What do you think it is? Okay, to do something for this person. Okay, all right. So these are the two definitions, like the actual. Yeah, Jessica. An act of kindness. Okay, all right. Dang it, you almost got it. Shoot. All right, just cheating. You can't do that. All right. So number one, it's approval, support, or liking for someone or something. Or number two, this is my more favorite one, is an act of kindness beyond what is due or usual. So something beyond what's expected, beyond the favor, beyond what was expected. And so first off, I want to start with a funny story. This is about a Danish prince named, this is going to be so bad, I'm going to mess up his name. Christian Bernadotte, I think is his name. We'll just call him Bernie, okay? So this is Bernie. He has a wonderful mustache, doesn't he? Isn't that beautiful? It's cool and hipster, okay? I just thought it looked cool, okay? Thank you. Thank you. So this is Bernardo, or Bernie, we'll call him Bernie. So, look, let's just like, we'll give like a worldly example of favor, and then we'll give some other examples like my life, and then like an actual scripture representation. So this is Bernie. Everybody say hi to Bernie. Why would you, he's dead. Why would you say that? He's dead, like hundreds of years ago. That's really creepy. All right, so Bernie here, he was a Danish dude who wasn't even royal blood. Like, he wasn't even royalty, he didn't have any authority, but he joined the military. And through the military, they eventually, because of his good works, because of how nice he was, they appointed him as prince. So imagine that. Just imagine that for a second. Like, you're like, let's just say you're working at a restaurant. And like, you are not the owner, you don't own the store, but for some reason, because of your good works, because of how well you've worked, you like suddenly like own the store. So that's basically Bernie here. Bernie is just a soldier, and eventually he becomes the prince of a Danish kingdom. But get this, his favor doesn't stop there. Bernie is there during this time, and behind it here, I'll read this real quickly, and then I'll like translate it because it's so confusing. So, Bernie, or Bernadotte, was elected partly because long part of the Swedish army, in view of future complications with Russia, whoo, that was a mouthful, were in a favor of electing a soldier, partly because he was also personally popular owing to the kindness he had shown to the Swedish prisoners in Lubeck. The matter was decided by one of the Swedish connoisseurs, Baron, I'm not going to even try that name, who entirely on his own initiative offered the succession to the Swedish crown. So like, what does that mean? I have no clue. Well, I Googled it even more to understand because I don't understand that either. But what happened was Bernie was fighting as the prince of the Danish kingdom, and actually at the same time, the Swedish kingdom was fighting Russia. But while they were fighting Russia, this kind of mean sleek bag in Swedish was like, hey, I'm the king right now, but I'm going to take advantage of y'all because y'all are fighting right now. And so they basically kicked him out. Now the Swedish people have no king, so they're just kind of looking around like, who do we king? So they meet Bernie. Bernie's like chilling out, they're having battle, and the Swedish people are underneath prison. And basically all Bernie does, he really doesn't do anything, but he's just nice to them. Like, simply just nice. Like, I imagined this, I said this earlier, I imagine he's like gave him a biscuit. He just gave him a biscuit. Like, he was really nice. Maybe just a little bit of a lunch or something, just something simple. But that's all that Bernie did. And guess what happened was they were like, hey, we're gonna make you our new king. So not only is he not of royal blood and becomes a Danish king or prince, he's also the king of the Swedish people. It's like double trouble. And all because Bernie here was just nice. He just simply was nice. And see, I feel like that depicts favor so well. Because imagine how many other people were nice. Imagine how many other people were good warriors. Imagine how many other people fought well. But for some reason, Bernie had favor on his life, where not only was he anointed or appointed as a prince, he was also, just because of being nice, became the Swedish king. And get this, his royal bloodline is still the bloodline to this day. Dude, like 2018, like he's long dead. But his family is still the royal bloodline in Swedish. Or Swedish. It wouldn't be Swedish. That's Swedish fish. Sorry, distracted. Okay. But just imagine him going into the army. Imagine him like applying to be a soldier. I bet he was probably like, okay, imagine, let's just say he prayed. Let's just imagine he was a Christian. Let's just say he prayed and he was like, God, when I join the military, I want to be like a general maybe. That would be so cool. But the dude ends up becoming king of like everything. Not only the place that he was at, but he becomes the king of another country. See, that is favor. I feel like that depicts favor so well. And that's kind of a worldly example. Let's look at, but before we move on, let's look at a biblical example of a story compared to Bernie. Let's talk about Joseph. How many of you have heard the story of Joseph? Like, coat of many colors, whatever, that we're going to talk about Joseph. So first I'm going to read up here. So, now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt. Okay, well, first I have to give backstory. So Joseph, right, he grows up. He is the firstborn son of Jacob. I think it is, yeah, right? Am I probably wrong? He's the firstborn. And so his brothers are jealous of him. His brothers envy him because his father favorites Joseph. And so Joseph, his brothers, y'all know the story, Joseph gets thrown into a pit because his brothers are so jealous of him. They don't want to kill him. They don't want to remove him. But instead they just throw him in a pit and they say, oh, we'll just leave him there. Well, then some traders from Egypt, the biggest, the Egyptian pyramids, this was Egypt's prime. Some travelers come by that are going to Egypt and they say, hey, let's sell our brother to the Egyptians. And so they sell their brother to the traders and they take him to Egypt. And so this is where we pick up on the story. Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt. Potiphar, an Egyptian, who was of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him there. The Lord was with Joseph so that he prospered and they lived in the house of the Egyptian master. When his master saw that the Lord was with him in all, the Lord gave him in success in everything he did. Joseph found favor. Ooh, there it is. Joseph found favor in his eyes and became his attendant. Potiphar put him in charge of his household, and he entrusted him to care for everything he owned, from household and all that he owned. The Lord blessed the household of Potiphar. The blessing of the Lord was on everything Potiphar had, both in the house and in the field. So Potiphar left everything he had in Joseph's care. With Joseph in charge, he did not concern himself with anything except the food he ate. So what does that mean? So Potiphar is going to the slave trade and he sees Joseph. And it says that Joseph was strong, but he wasn't crazy built, but he saw Joseph and he picked Joseph and he bought Joseph. So basically a lot of us would say, okay, your story is over. You don't really we wouldn't see any favor in that moment, right? Joseph is now a bought slave. He's owned by another man. Now, a lot of us, we can't really kind of comprehend what that means because we live in a blessed time where slavery in our country is abolished and in most other places is. But just imagine that. Try to tap into that for a second. You are owned by another person. That is probably one of the most hopeless things you can be at that point is being owned by another person. Not working for a person, not serving another person, not volunteering for another person. You are owned by them. And so I'm sure Joseph looks at his life and he goes, God, what? I was the firstborn. In this day and culture, the firstborn was the trophy child. They would have gotten everything. They would have gotten all that the father had. All of his sheep, all of his herdsmen, every silver and gold, all of the treasure that he had would go to the firstborn son. But now he's a slave owned by another man named Potiphar and in his house. But this is what Joseph does. He serves well. He works diligently for Potiphar. And look at what happens. This is just a pinch of the favor on Joseph's life. Joseph walks in as a slave. As a slave. Probably just going to scrub the floors, maybe going to work all the time. That was the translation for what he should have been. What society said that, man, you're going to scrub floors, you're going to tend to the fields, that's probably all you're going to do, and you're going to die a slave. That's it. But look at the favor on Joseph's life. Joseph sits in Potiphar's house, and everything he touches, he's blessing. So when he's scrubbing those floors, Potiphar walks by and he goes, whoa! That is the cleanest I've ever seen those floors. And he goes, you know what? Instead, come clean my spears and my swords. And so Joseph goes over there and he cleans. And maybe he moves on and says, man, look at how good those look. And he goes, you know what, I'm going to let you do this, and I'm going to let you do this. And eventually, Joseph is running his entire house to the point where Potiphar just has to sit back on a beach chair and just go, I don't care, Joseph's going to take care of it. It becomes to where Potiphar in this day and age basically owned a small kingdom inside of Egypt. And Joseph was over it. That was all of Joseph. Joseph had every right. He could take and eat what he wanted. He could do what he wanted. He didn't care. He got the permission from Potiphar to do what you want, man. Because everything that Joseph touched, everything that he did had favor on it. It had the blessing of God on it. Because everything he did, it excelled. but it's not over yet. You go, dude, that's a happy ending. You know, Disney movie, roll the credits, dude. You made it. You did it, dude. You're perfect. Like you accomplished so much. Like you were a slave, and now you're like running this mansion and basically owning it. But it's not over yet. So backstory a little bit more. Joseph is then thrown into prison because Potiphar's wife got all like handsy. Okay, we'll just translate it to that. And so Joseph was honoring and protective, but yet was accused wrongly, and so he's thrown into prison. And so now, even through that, God follows him. So now he's at the top again. I'm sure he's like frustrated with God, right? He's like, I made it. I excelled over the pit. Like I was bought and sold into slavery. My brothers threw me into a pit and were going to kill me. But man, now I'm running Potiphar's house. Like, dude, I made it. Like God, thank you. This is so good. And then boom, he's thrown into prison. And I'm sure he's probably sitting there like chained and shackled, and he goes, wait a minute, God, wait. This isn't not, roll the credits. The story's supposed to be over, Jesus. Like I made it. But even through that, it continues to grow. So while he's in this prison, he's with two other prisoners, and they have these dreams. They have prophetic dreams, and Joseph translates them. And so he has this amazing ability that God has given him to translate dreams. And he says, hey, remember me when you leave prison. Remember me. And so basically one of the guys forgets. And he doesn't remember him. But then something happens in the palace. And so the man that he spoke over the dream says, hey, like Pharaoh, I hear you've been having these crazy dreams that you don't understand. Like, how many of you have had dreams that are like really weird? Like kind of crazy dreams, right? Like, so Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, like he rules everything. Basically a god in this society is ruling everything. And he's having these crazy, weird dreams. And he's like, I don't understand these. And none of his wise men can translate them. Nobody can understand them. And so he's like, just freaking out. So at this point now, his servant is there and he says, hey, remember that time you threw me in jail? And he's like, yeah, I remember that time. And he goes, well, this guy, he could translate my dreams. His name is Joseph. What? How? That's favor in that moment that he would even mention Joseph. That he would even get the opportunity to talk to Pharaoh. But for some reason, God had favor on Joseph's life. And so he says, hey, there's this guy named Joseph. He's in prison. Let's pull him out. Let's just see. Let's just see if he can do it. And so Joseph translates his dreams. He translates what God is speaking to Pharaoh, even through his dreams, and he warns Pharaoh of 7 years of famine. 7 years of no food. But he says, hey, warning, dude, like save a little bit, but save a lot. Like we're going to eat a little bit and going to take a lot. So he comes up with this prophetic, amazing business plan for Pharaoh to save everybody, to save all of Egypt, the biggest kingdom in the world at this point. And he says, hey, I got this plan. And so we'll read right here, and it says, the plan seemed good to Pharaoh and to all his officials. So Pharaoh asked him, can we find anyone like this man? One in whom is the Spirit of God. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, since God has made all this known to you, there is no one discerning and as wise as you. Right there. Even in the midst of that, even in the midst of Pharaoh not believing in Jesus, not believing in God, Joseph still honors him and respects him. And you shall be in charge. And so he said, then Pharaoh said to Joseph, since God has made all this known to you, there is no one as wise as you. You shall be in charge of my palace and all my people to submit your orders. Only with respect to the throne will I be greater than you. What? That doesn't make sense. That doesn't add up. That doesn't equate. What? So now Joseph has gone from the pit to the top of Potter's house. And now he's gone to prison. And now the Pharaoh, like the king above Potiphar, above the pit, above his brothers, everything, like the most powerful man in the world says, you know what? I want you to be second in command to me.
What? What? That's like a Bernie thing. Like, how does that make sense? Why? That doesn't equate. That doesn't make sense because what? Joseph was a slave. Joseph was his brothers tried to kill him. But for some reason, because he loved God, because he served God, God had his favor on his life to where that no matter what he touched, even if it was translating a dream. What? If I told you, if I walked up to you and I said, hey, if you want to be like second in command of all of America, could you like translate this dream? You'd go, no. What are you talking about? But Joseph didn't see it like that. He saw it as a moment to serve. He saw it as a moment to proclaim Jesus. And he said, I'm going to do everything I am. I'm going to wipe the floors. I'm going to clean his spears. I'm going to work for Potiphar. I'm going to work at it. I'm going to be faithful even in this prison. I'm going to be faithful even in this pit. Amongst it all, he was faithful to Jesus. And favor came from that. I just want to imagine for a second, what do you think Joseph's prayers were in the pit? Like, let's just imagine, like, his brothers, which pit is so funny, too. Like, have you ever thought about that? Like, they threw him in a pit, like a hole so deep he couldn't get out. Like, I live in Texas. I have never seen that before. That's impressive on itself. But okay, never mind. That's a stretch. But let's just imagine, like, Joseph sitting in the pit, and he's like, hey! Anybody? And then so he starts to pray, and he goes, Jesus, just like, get me out of the pit, or like send a rope or a camel or something. But God answers the prayer and says, okay, I could give you a rope, I could give you, help, I could change your brother's heart, but instead, I'm going to make you over the entire house, an entire mansion. Joseph didn't pray for that. He was probably like, Jesus, just get me out. But Jesus is like, no. I have a plan. I have favor on your life. And he took an opportunity that was supposed to be Joseph's destruction, and he turned it into favor. He turned it into an amazing opportunity that saved all of Egypt. God gave him more than he even prayed for. I'm sure he was sitting in that prison, in that pit, and goes, man, Jesus, just get me out of prison. I'll go back home. Or, Jesus, get me out of this pit. I'll hide away until my brothers leave. Like, Jesus, just get me out of the pit. But Jesus had another plan. He took him farther than he ever could have gone. So, just to kind of give another example of that, favor to me is such an awesome, amazing word. When I was a child, my mom always spoke cool backstory. When I was going to be born, the doctors told my mom that there was like a 90% chance that I was going to die. And so, fear swept over my mom. She was going to have like a miscarriage, like it was her first birth. I'm a firstborn, holla. And so it was basically said, hey, 90% chance that he will die, or he'll come out with complications, or he won't be able to walk, he won't be able to talk. And I'm doing both of those in front of you, so hallelujah. But they said basically that. And so what my mom began to do is she began to speak favor over my life. That was like the word. And then the day I was born, there was a prayer meeting happening at our church that we were at that time, and all they spoke was favor. Favor over his life. And the funny thing is I wasn't even like guaranteed a life. But they spoke favor over something that wasn't existing. And so that's super powerful and it's super, super amazing. But the funny thing is it kind of comes out in different ways. So like recently I was going to the movies with this friend, and I'm driving from Abilene all the way to Dallas to see this movie, okay? And so I'm driving all the way to Dallas, and I am like super late, like super duper late, like 30 minutes late to a movie. Like y'all know, like you've already missed, like you're past the commercials, like you're into the movie at that point. And so I'm like sitting there like, Jesus, like let it just be like maybe I forgot the movie and just let me maybe just let it start a little sooner, or the commercials run long, or somebody's on their phone or something like that. Like maybe, or just please like let her just go into the movie and forget about me and just start watching the movie so I don't feel bad. Like just Jesus, just do something where like I still come in and it's not awkward, or whatever it means. Like God, just do something. And so I'm praying that, hoping that God would just like let her go into the theater and not wait, because I know her, and she's like sitting out there waiting. And so I'm like, God, just let her go in the theater, or let the commercials run long, so only miss like 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, like just a little bit of the movie. And so I walk up, and of course, she's waiting there, and so I'm like, oh, dang it, like, we've already missed a ton of this movie, so I'm like running up frantically, and I kid you not, have any of y'all seen, like, The Good Life, that Christmas movie? Oh, you're so young. Okay, like, imagine, like, the most happiest person in the world, and he's, like, giving out tickets. That's the guy, like, getting our tickets. So he's, like, super, like, how's your day? And I'm like, come on, Grandpa, I'm trying to get to the movie, like, let's go, we're 30 on. He's like, how's your day? And so I'm like, it's great, Dad, like, whatever, like, I'm having a great time, like, whatever. And then he's like, I think there might be something wrong with your ticket. And I go, no, there's not anything wrong with the ticket, scan it. I'm like, just scan it, dude. And so he's like, I've never done it on the phone before. And I'm like, is this your first day? I'm like, come on. And so he finally scans it, and he goes, he's about to give it away, and I'm at this point kind of frustrated, and I feel bad about it, but I'm kind of frustrated, like, okay, like, you just got to scan it here. I'm, like, scanning the ticket now, like, I'm doing it. I'm like, I don't work here, and I'm scanning my own ticket. Like, come on, dude. And so, finally get a scan, he puts it, and he goes, oh, you're watching that movie. And he goes, that movie hasn't started yet. And I go, what? What are you talking about, Magical Fairy Man? Like, what? And he goes, yeah, they're having complications in the theater, and it hasn't started yet. And I'm like, at this point, I'm like, I want to give him a hug, you know? I'm like, oh my gosh, like, are you kidding me? And so, I totally turned from, like, dude, hurry up, to, like, I love you. Like, can I kiss you? Like, can I, you know? And so we walk in the theater, it hasn't started yet, and we sit down, and I'm like, man, like, oh my gosh, like, how movie hasn't started, everybody's waiting. And so then the story gets even better. And so the guy walks in and he goes, hey guys, they're like putting a blowtorch. Okay, sorry, this is like a teenager guy. He comes in there, he obviously doesn't know what he's doing. So he just kind of walks in, he's like, they told me to come tell you, like, they're like putting like a blowtorch to it, and it might be fixed tomorrow. And he's like, but we can give you your tickets back. And so I'm like, what? I live in, like, Abilene, I can't come back to see this movie, like, what's gonna happen? And so he's like, but y'all can chill out for a little bit if you want to, see, I don't know, but if you want to leave, that's fine. And so everybody kind of sits still for a little bit, and I tell my friend, I go, man, wouldn't that be awesome if, like, everybody got up and left, and then the movie started? Wouldn't that be, like, hilarious? And so, one by one, people get up and they leave, and they're walking out. And the guy comes back again, like, to the last two people, and he's like, y'all can stay if you want to, but I kind of gotta clean this theater. And so they're like, we'll give you like 30 more minutes. And so I'm like, okay, whatever. And so he gets up, and this time me and my friend get to like talk and hang out, like, which normally, okay, for me, I hate going to movies with friends just because it's like you don't talk, you just watch the movie, right? And so I was like, this is so cool, like, exactly what I want. And I was like, yes, thank you, Jesus. And so I get to like just have communication and talk, and we're talking about different life things. And I kid you not, the last person stands up and walks out. They're out the door. I hear the door shut, and I go, man, I guess we should just leave. And then, boom, the movie turns on. And I go, what? I stood up, and I go, Wakanda forever, because that was the movie we were watching. I was like, yes! And so I was like, this is amazing. And so we watched the movie, and I walk out, and I never saw that magical fairy man again. Probably wasn't an angel, but I'm just going to say it was, okay? I'm just going to say he was, because I never saw him again. I even asked, I was like, you know, like that guy, I wanted to apologize. Couldn't find him. So, what I'm trying to convey to that is that I prayed to Jesus. I was like, God, let it just be 15 minutes. Let her go in. Let it be this, let it be that. Like, I wanted, like, an answer to prayer, of course. Like, it would be a miracle what I was praying for. But God, through his favor, not only gives you favor, which is amazing, God will show you, like, how much he loves you. He's like, hey, I love you. Like, I love you so much that I can break a movie screen for a little bit. I can send a magical fairy man to really make you mad, but then eventually give you the tickets, you know? Like, I can make it to where they stick a blowtorch into a screen, and somehow, I don't know how that works. But God is saying, hey, I love you so much, I'm going to give you what you asked for and a little bit more. I'm going to give it to you exactly how you want it, because God knew the desire of my heart. I was like, man, I didn't really want to go to a movie. I wanted to hang out and talk. So I got best of both worlds. And I didn't even ask for it. God knew the desires of my heart, and he gave it to me. And so I want to kind of convey that again, just kind of give an example. Imagine what Joseph was praying in the pit. He was probably praying like me, like, God, like, just 15 more minutes, and then you'll pull me out, right? God, oh, now they're selling into slavery. God, no, I gotta
saved. And God, oh, now I'm in prison. What? Jesus! Okay, he's like, what?
But God was in it all along, and I imagine Jesus looking down going like, you don't even know. And I imagine at the same time, like me driving, and I'm going, Jesus, 15 minutes, and he goes, I'm the magical fairy man, And so, just to kind of give even more kind of an example of this, let's, can I get here, I'll just toss them out. Let's see. Booyah! 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 Don't worry, everybody will get time at the toilet. Dude, I can throw in there. Okay. Booyah! Okay. So, hey. Listen. So this is also gotta work. This is an amazing God demonstration, okay? Yes, it involves toilet paper, okay? But let's just say, y'all hold y'all's toilet paper for a second now, okay? So let's just imagine, this is let's just give an example. This is Joseph's prayer, right? Everybody look at Joseph's prayer. It's not even 2-ply, okay? This is cheap toilet paper, dude. This would it's dangerous. You better beware, you better double layer. Okay. It's like 60 cents. Okay, so this is Joseph's prayer, right? Like, hey, God, get me out of the pit, yo. Like, Jesus, I don't want to be in prison. Like, send me home. And then God responds with all of this, He's like, no, but this is what I got planned. Okay, so now, for demonstration's sake, please do not kill each other, okay? But I want you to unveil, whoever's got a thing, unveil it and pull out this big slip right here, okay? Hold that in one hand, preferably your not throwing hand, okay? All right? And then I want you to throw it, okay? Throw it as far as you can, okay? That's it. Stay in your seat and throw it. Just throw it to the other side, back and forth, okay? Throw it, go, throw it. So, okay? Yeah. Okay, now everybody grab it. Now throw it back until the rolls are empty. Go, just go. Do it. Proclaim God's goodness. Yes, Lord. Okay? Yeah, throw it. Yeah, I'm going to be looking at that. Dude, that one's already empty. Hold it. Okay, are we almost done? You good? Okay. All right. Everybody sit down, find your seats. Ceasefire. Okay? So right. Let's just pick up Joseph's prayer. This was Joseph's prayer, right? Like, God, get me out of the pit. Jesus, here, focus, Fox, whatever. Bubble in your tuck. I don't know how to do those in preschool. This is Joseph, right? This is Joseph's prayer. Hey, God, get me out of the pit, Jesus. But this is the plan that Jesus had. This was the plan that Jesus said, okay, I could give you out of the pit, but I could probably maybe give you all of this, which is representation of, man, he ruled and saved an entire kingdom. A slave, hey, don't be distracted by toilet paper. Leave it. Lay it where it lies. Or leave it where it lies. Just drop the toilet paper. So that's the example, right? That Joseph said, hey, God, could you get me out of the pit? Do you mind, Jesus? Could you, just get me out of prison, or maybe drop these things that people are saying that aren't true about me, that are, God, Lord Jesus, can you just maybe take me back to my family? But get this, the end picture is this. The amazing part of Joseph's story is that through everything that happened, guess what happened? His brothers came to the kingdom and go, hey, it's been 6 years of famine, and we're starving and we're dying, and we need food. And guess what? They didn't even recognize Joseph. They didn't even recognize Joseph. That's gross, I know. Ugh, it's so nasty. They didn't even recognize Joseph. So Joseph was like, have y'all seen Undercover Boss? Dude, he was like, they walked up and they go, hey, Pharaoh, Assistant Pharaoh, whatever his name was, can you give us food? We're dying. And he goes, you don't even recognize me. And he goes, And long story short, he saves his entire family. And his father that grieved and thought his son was dead, he brought to Egypt, and they became one of the biggest families in Egyptian culture. One of the most honored families. And get this, the Egyptians, through their history and through their time, they put in slavery Christians and people like Joseph. But because of Joseph's favor, his family, a Christian family, supposed to be in slavery, supposed to be under the wrath of Pharaoh, became one of the most honored families because of the pit. So God took his simple Joseph prayer, his simple get me out of the pit, and he turned it into all of this.
Come on.
He turned it into setting his family free, redemption, forgiveness. He saved an entire... I mean, just imagine our society today if Egypt wasn't there. If they'd all been died out. But it was God's perfect plan and God's perfect use of favor that he was given the opportunity.
Yeah.
See, this is so much bigger. Favor turns into so much more. And so, my question to you today is every story, everything that we read from the Bible, how can we apply it to our life? How can we apply favor to our life? And some of you may today be like, man, I don't feel favor. I feel like I'm in the pit. I feel like, man, even though school's over, even though summer's over, I feel like I'm even darker and deeper in the pit. I don't know what to do. Like, I'm scared of tomorrow, man. I feel like I'm in the prison. I've been betrayed and I've been put in a place. I was so big and now I'm so small. And that might be you today. But all I can tell you is I don't know the future. I don't know the outcome. I don't know what your prayers are, but I know this, that once you devote yourself, once you give yourself to God, once you give yourself your talents, once you give your life to God, when you give everything that you have, and you say, God, I'm going to serve you well. So if that means that you're serving in Potiphar's house, and you're going, man, God, why do you have me here? I'm a slave. And you go, man, I'm going to serve. I'm going to serve at this job. I'm going to serve during summer. I'm going to raise money and go to camp. I'm going to raise money and go on a mission trip. I'm going to raise money and give to STL. God, even though I don't have money, even though these opportunities don't come, I'm going to serve. I'm going to be faithful. And what God does is he looks down and he goes, oh, I can use that.
Yeah.
He goes down and at the same time as he looked at Joseph, going, Joseph, look at how well you're serving. Even though you're in slavery, even though you're in bondage, I see you and you're serving so well. You're wiping those floors, you're cleaning those spears, you're working for Potiphar faithfully, and I see that. And that's the same way that God looks at you. He looks at you like Joseph. He looks at you and sees you in the position and the place that you feel like, man, this is the pit, this is slavery, I don't know what to do. And God looks at you and he goes, perfect. Perfect. Because I can change a kid who's just really athletic, or I can use a girl that's just really smart, I can use a girl that's I can use a guy who's just that. Or I can use even a situation that says exactly the opposite, because really, in all reality, if someone had walked up to Joseph in his slavery and his bondage and goes, hey, you're going to be our royalty and you're going to like rule the palace, dude. He'd been like, what are you talking about? What are you saying? Like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, slavery never equals kingdom. See, the beauty of it is that God is an almighty God who can take our mustard seed of faith, our mustard seed of devotion, our mustard seed, and he'll take it and grow it into something so much more. And so my challenge to you today is, how do we walk in favor? You're like, oh God, I want to walk in that favor. And guess what? Joseph didn't know that he was walking in favor, but he served diligently. The answer is, I don't know. I don't know how I got those tickets. I don't know how Magical Ferryman showed up. I couldn't have prayed for that. I couldn't have asked for that. It was too specific. But guess what? I can walk and I can pray and I can put it in God's hands. I can go, God, there was an accident and there was bad traffic. I don't know what happened. I'm 30 minutes late, but I give it to you, Jesus. And guess what? God cares about the simplest things. Yep. If God cares about Joseph being king over an entire Egyptian kingdom, he cares about your broken foot, or your hard days, or your bad days, or your good days, or those moments when, man, you just need a green light, or man, maybe you just need a little bit of motivation, or you see someone to pour into your life. God cares about those moments. Yeah. Because the beauty of it is that favor doesn't just uplift you, it shows how much God loves you. It shows that God sees the desires of your heart. It sees that God sees the devotion is. It's the most beautiful way. Jeremy Johnson said this once. He said that these are the moments where God becomes so real. And for me, I want to give just this last example, and this is kind of a vulnerable moment. This is something that I didn't feel like I should have shared, but I feel like God was just right before I turned up on during worship. I said, God, do you want me to share this? And it was like, solid yes. So